Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Recently, we were contacted by the pioneer commercial fishers of Manitoba that the Department of Conservation is giving favorable treatment to an organization that the Deputy Minister used to run, the Manitoba Wildlife Federation. The MWF, which doesn't seem to appear anywhere in the Registry of Manitoba Lobbyists, has been boasting that it has an inside track to this PC government, as the article I table shows, describing officials as influential friends. Influence is one thing, but the policies in place are hurting thousands of commercial fishers and are trampling Indigenous rights. Now, apparently, the members opposite have the same files I do. How can this government explain a quota buyback program endorsed by the MWF that appears to favor southern, non-Indigenous fishers with $6 a pound and northern Indigenous fishers with only $4?
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Of course, this member is known for lobbying a number of different scurrilous accusations. Almost always they turn out to be untrue. In fact, I can't think of one that actually turned out to be true. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we of course have a lobbyist registration in Manitoba. It is a robust system where people have to register in order to lobby so that it becomes public and is transparent. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I would say that this member's credibility fails when it comes to issues around ethics, when it comes to transparency. He should stick to things that are meaningful and are factual when it comes to this legislature and to Manitobans in general, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable for St. Boniface on a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. There are other stakeholders whose lives and livelihoods depend on the fishery, thousands of families in many communities across Manitoba. I table another document showing that in November 2018, the former minister promised that no changes would be made without consultation, but the pioneer fishers and Grand Chief of AMC can't get a meeting because the minister has literally gone fishing with an organization his staff used to run. We have texts from department officials threatening fishermen, blog posts railing against commercial fishers, telling them to burn their nets. The Civil Service Code of Conduct is explicit. An employee must not, directly or indirectly, place themselves in a situation in any official matter where there is a private or personal interest where they cannot be objective in their actions or decisions. How can this government justify policies and actions that are this blatantly biased?
The Honourable Minister for Agriculture and Resource Development.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And well, it certainly shows a member for St. Boniface has lack of knowledge in here. First of all, we did, our department with myself participating, met with the ACL regional reps back in November. However, the pioneer fishers decided to boycott those meetings and did not come forward. We've had meetings with them in the past. Our door is always open to meetings. We're continuing to work on eco-certification, which is a huge step forward for Lake Winnipeg. And with that was data that we're going to collect on Lake Winnipeg to make sure that the fishery is sustainable. So we'll continue to work with all the fishermen, commercial fishermen on Lake Winnipeg to make sure that we have a sustainable industry going forward. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for River Heights on a final supplementary question.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I ask the Minister to provide details of the government's plan to convert Crown lands designated as wildlife management areas into pasture land so that these lands can become domestic animal management areas. Is it correct that trees will be bulldozed to put up permanent fencing and that producers who access these pasture lands will have free rent for 5 years? This seems odd and unfair, as many producers using Crown lands have seen extraordinary rent increases. And why is the Manitoba Wildlife Federation to be managing these pasture lands? I thought Manitoba Wildlife Federation members are more interested in hunting wild animals, not domestic ones. Will the Minister table a contract with the Manitoba Wildlife Federation to clarify the situation? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister for Agriculture and Resource Development.
Well, misinformation seems to be the flavor of the day with the Liberals. First of all, I'm surprised at the member for River Heights with this misinformation he's putting forward there. The wildlife management areas were formed since about 1962, and what's happened is we've seen forest overgrowing the wildlife management areas, which makes for very poor habitat for upland game birds. With clearing some bush, with brush control in there, pasture management, it becomes a very important tool for wildlife management, including upland game birds, and this will improve. We're doing some pilot projects in a couple of wildlife management areas, which will improve their capacity for wildlife, and at the same time,
The Honourable Minister's time is up.